This is the final video in our series from a grade 11 RT prac exam, or paper 1 from 2023, that can help you prepare for your exams. And we're doing the last question, which is going to involve arrays and some subprograms. So let's get into the last and final question. So I've already opened up the program and it tells me that there are two parallel arrays. So parallel arrays means that whatever's in position 1 of the one array corresponds to position 1 of the other array. And we have an array that contains the date and time of each of the shows. So it looks something like that. It's an array of strings. So we've got the date and the time followed by a dash in between, or a hyphen. And then the second array is array tickets, which is an array of integer numbers that represent the number of tickets sold for that show. So the array shows. For example, the value in position 1 of array shows, the position 1 in array tickets is the number of tickets sold for that particular show on that date at that time. So that's what we need to be aware of. And there is a variable called rTotalShows, which is a global integer that tells me how many values are in both of those arrays, because it might not be a full array. Let's start with question 4.1. First of all, we must write a string function called getTime that receives a string as a parameter in the following format. So the string that it's going to receive is going to look like this. It's going to have the date in that format, followed by 3 characters, a space, hyphen, space, followed by the time. So it's actually, for those who clicked onto it, the format of the string is going to be the exact same format as the data that's in array shows. We're not dealing with array shows, and this is the same format. There we go, same format. But we're just dealing with the one string that looks like this. We're not doing anything to the array. We just receive a string parameter that looks like this, and we must return all the characters that represent the time part, which is that last little bit there, the last couple of values, and that would be returned for a string as given as an argument. So that's all we have to do. So let's go to our code. We're going to go right to the first bit. Remember always to put your name at the top, and we're going to create our own method over here. We're going to create a function called getTime, if I remember correctly. That's what it's called. There we go. And it receives a string parameter and it's a string function. So those are the 2 bits of information. So it receives a string, which we'll call sLine of type string, and it's a string function, which means it returns a string. Okay, so we're going to press Control-Shift-C so we can go to the part where we write the code for this particular function. So now we know that sLine looks something like that string over there. That's exactly what it looks like. So there we go. So we want to extract that bit over there and send that back. So we're going to say result, because result is the variable that sends back our final answer. And we're going to copy. Now it's always in this format. So we're going to use sLine, because sLine is going to look like this. So we're going to assume sLine has a value in it that looks like that, and we're going to go, okay, so it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14. We basically want to start copying from position 14 for 1 2 3 4 5 characters. That's how we're going to get the time. It's always going to be that. So let's just double check. They always specify that it's going to be in that format followed by that. So therefore we can do that, and that should be fine. And so the result equals to copy from position 14 for that. We can test it later. But yeah, there we go. We're going to save and let's move on. We'll test to see if it works later on when we use it, and then we can adjust it if we need to. So question 4.2, complete the code for question 4.2 for BTNQ42, which displays the details of all the shows and the number of tickets sold for each row. So basically we're just displaying all the results. We say in show date time, we're just displaying all the values in array shows and all the values in array tickets. So that's quite simple. You come over here to question 4.2. They've already done the heading for me. So I'm going to first of all create a loop variable of type integer, because we are going to loop. We're going to go for r equals 1 until how many values in the array. Well, let's scroll up and look at the arrays. There are my 2 arrays. We can see that there are 20 elements in the array, but they're not all full. We want to go until the total number of shows. So that's actually the value that we want to go until. So from 1 until rTotalShows do, and we are going to say in the rich display lines.add, we display in the value in array shows r, and then we're going to have, I assume, some sort of tab, and then we're going to have the tickets. So we're going to have a #9, and then we're going to have over here, I'll just put it so you can see it's on one line, array tickets at position r. So when r is a 1, display array shows 1 and array tickets 1. When it's a 2, do 2 2. But the problem is that is a string, that's fine, but that's an integer. So we're going to have to convert this from an int to a string so that it fits into that rich edit. Go, convert it. Let's just display it and see if it works. Let's display all the shows, and there we go. It looks like it's exactly like they display over there. Yep, looks all good. So we can see all the shows and so on. So there we go. That's perfect. Okay, let's move on to the next question. 4.3. Circus owner wants to promote 3 shows that do not have many tickets sold. Complete the code that displays the 3 shows that have the least amount of tickets sold. So we want to find the least amount of tickets sold. So that would be, if we looked over here, we're looking at that show, and I'm assuming that. There we go. So the last 3. And we must display the least amount. So sort both arrays, and then we just display the bottom 3. So we want to sort it in ascending order according to the number of tickets, because we want the smallest amount of tickets sold, so we want it in ascending order according to the tickets sold. And we need to make sure that when you do parallel arrays, if we swap these 2 around, we also want to swap those 2 around. Because if I just swap those 2 around, then I don't know what show we're referring to anymore. Then the data hasn't got its integrity yet. So we're going to do a sort on both arrays. When I mean both arrays, it means we sort the tickets, and whenever we make a swap here, we're going to do a swap on that side. And then we just need to display the bottom 3. In other words, the first 3, if we start in from the smallest to the biggest. That seems to be the easiest thing to do. Let's click on Q43 display. So we're first going to do a sort. For a sort, we need 2 loops. I'm going to make an R and a J of type integer. And then we need values for when we do the swaps. Now I need a value to swap a string and a value to swap an integer. So those are going to be my temp variables. So I'm going to make an R temp, and I'm going to make an S temp for the string, because we're gonna have to swap those values around. So let's start off over here. So first of all, we're going to do a for loop. I equals, we're going to go from 1 until 1 before the end of the values in the array. Remember, we're using our total shows, not 20. So we're going to go until that to -1. This is going to be my selection sort. You can use another sort algorithm. I'm using selection sort because it's the easy one for me to remember. And then I'm going to have a J value, which is going to go from I value plus 1. So whatever that value is plus another 1. And that will go up until our total shows. And so this is just my algorithm. And I'm going to say if the value in, now we're sorting array tickets in ascending order. So we're going to take R array tickets J, the first loop. If it's greater than the second loop, then if that's true, that means they're in the wrong order. That means we must swap the ticket values. To do that, we're going to use R temp because the tickets are integers. So we're going to say R temp is equal to array tickets R. And then we're going to say whatever is in this one now, array tickets I is now going to be whatever is in array tickets J. And then whatever's in array tickets J is now going to equal to whatever's in R temp. The way I remember it is that R goes to R, J goes to J, and temp loops around. So there we go. So that means the 2 values, if they're in the wrong order, they will swap. So if, for example, over here, if those 2 values are, those are fine, but if those 2 values are in the wrong order, it'll move this one there and that one will move there. That's basically. But when we do that swap, we also want those values to swap so that we can make sure that we're referring to the right show. We're not checking to see if they're in the right order according to the shows. We're doing that according to tickets. But when we do a ticket swap, we must also do a show swap. That's the key to parallel arrays. When you do swap of one, you must also do swap of the other. So in this case, we're not dealing with array tickets, but we're dealing with array shows. So I'm just going to copy that and replace all the word tickets with the word shows. So whatever swap we do with tickets, we will do with the shows. Problem is array shows is an array of strings. So now I need S temp, and this needs to be S temp. So we swap those around. So when we swap those 2 around, we also swap those 2 around. That's basically what we're doing. And then at the end of this, the array would be sorted. This is array sorted in ascending order. In other words, from smallest to biggest. The smallest ticket sales will be at the top at number 1, and the biggest will be at the end. So which means if I want to now display bottom 3 tickets sold, I can now sort it. Now I just need to display the top 3 values in the array. So now I'm going to use that R variable again because we finished using it. Once we outside of this loop, R is not needed. So I'm going to go for I equal 1, 2, 3. And we're going to say the rich display dot lines dot add. And what do we want to display? We're going to display the value in the array shows and then the tickets in a bracket with tickets sold. So we're going to say array shows R plus space bracket, space open bracket, and then we're going to add array tickets at position R plus tickets sold close bracket, space tickets sold close bracket. So that's what we're displaying. But remember, this is a string. So array shows is a string, array tickets is not a string, so we're going to have to convert this from an int to a string before we display it. So we can bring this up a bit so you can see it all in one line. And do they give a heading? Yeah, there's no heading, but if you look over here, you can see there's a heading, 3 shows to promote. So let's just put the heading in just to make sure that we've got it correct. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. 3 shows to promote. So it's 3 shows to promote like it is. Let's run it. So we're going to click on 3 shows to promote. Boom, there are the 3 shows. And if we look at the data over here, we look over there, we can see it's 2nd of the 12th, or 38, 30th of November, 42, and the 9th of the 12th with 79. So there we go, all correct. So there we go, that one is correct. Let's move on to 4.4. Any show that starts at 11 o'clock will have a maximum number of 150 seats, while shows at other starting times will have 180 tickets available. So the morning shows have 150. Complete the code that displays all the shows that are sold out based on the total tickets for the show, the number of tickets that are sold. So display the date and time of the sold out shows in the rich edit control. So we want all the sold out shows. So if we look at the data here, there's 180, which is a 6 o'clock show, which is not 11, that's sold out. There's an 11 o'clock show with 150, so that's sold out. And there's another one which is sold out. So this one's 150, but that's not sold out because it's not an 11 o'clock show. So that's the thing to take note of. So if it's a morning show, I've got a funny feeling. So we're basing this based on the time, which means I've got a funny feeling there. Hence, use the method you created in question 4.1 because we need to determine what time it is. If it's 1100, then we must check if it's 150. If it's not that, then we must check if it's 180. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come to the code, jump to this button over here, sold out shows. They've already done the heading, so we're going to then do a loop. So I'm going to have a variable called r of type integer, and I'm going to go for r equal 1 to our total shows. Now what am I doing? Let's do begin end so we can see all things. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to ask, if array shows r, okay, so if array shows r, which is going to look something like that. Now I don't really care about the date, I care about the time, so I want to just get the time. So I'm going to use, now that is a string by itself, so I'm going to use that string to plug it into this function that we created, and it's going to send back just the time. I think that's the best way to do it. They gave me a hint that I should do that. So I'm going to say use get time of array shows, and that's going to send back 1100 or whatever. If that's the same, and it's going to be a string, if that equals to 1100, and at the same time array tickets are equals to 150, if those two conditions are true, then that's a sold out show. Then we can say rich display.lines.add, and what are we displaying? We're displaying just the show details, just array shows. So we can say array shows are. That's if it's an 11 o'clock show and it has 150 tickets sold. So remember, if we use AND, we must have brackets around our conditions. That's one condition, and that's the other condition. I'm writing it like this, not in one line, just so that you can see all the text in one go, but ideally you would want this to be over here. It would look a lot nicer there and so on. So that's the one scenario. Else, the other scenario is exactly the same as this. Else, if we get to this point, then we know that the show is not equal to 1100 and the tickets is 180. Then we know that the show is sold out. If it's not equal to 1100, but it's any other show, and then it's sold out. So there we go. Those are the two scenarios. Now there's a little part we've missed here. I don't know if you've seen that. Display the date and time sold shows. There we go. All the shows that are not sold out must be added to the combo box booking control. Only the date and the time must be added. So whatever's in the array shows must be displayed to the combo box. There's a combo box booking. So if we come here, if it's 11 and 150, we display it sold out. If it's not 11 and it's 180, it's sold out. But if it's neither of those, that means it's not sold out. It's still fine. If that's the case, then we're going to say our combo box dot items dot add, we're going to add the value in array shows are. So display the date and the time. If we didn't get it working, then we must remove that. It says remove this line because it's already populated. I think this has already got values in. If I run, it's already got values in. Okay, so let's test that to see if that works. So we go through all the shows. If it's that, so let's run it. So if we come over here, we can see that it's got all the shows in this already. But when we run the code, it's going to clear it. So when we go sold out shows, we get those 3 sold out shows. And then if I come here, you'll see that the 1st of the 12th isn't there anymore. And the 3rd 11 o'clock show isn't there. And the 8th show isn't there. So they've removed those ones, because if it's not 11 and it's 180, then it displays it. If it's 11 o'clock and it's 150, it displays it. That's 180 and it's not 11. But if it's neither of those, then it adds it to this combo box over here. So there we go. So those are my 3 conditions over there. Okay, so that is that question. If you're unable to tell me, if I can't do it, then at least we can just clear that line. We can at least have some data in that combo box to use. Okay, so that's how we use that method. That's great. We use the method. So there we go. We're on track. Remember, they'll never ask you to create a function if you're not going to use it. So I'm glad that we used it, which means we've done that correctly. Okay, let's go to question 4.5. Last one. BTN Q45 takes as input a show from the combo box, which we've just added values to, and prompts the user for the number of seats representing the number of tickets the user wants to sell. This has been done for you. So if I come over here, so we're going to get the selected time from the booking combo box, and we're going to get the number of tickets from that input box. Fantastic. Complete the code that must determine if there are enough tickets for that show. A reminder that the 11 o'clock shows only have 150 and the other shows have 180 tickets. If the 6 o'clock show has 178 tickets and you want 5 tickets, then there are not enough tickets, because you can't go above 180. But if you've wanted 2, then it's enough. So if there are enough tickets, then a suitable message must be displayed, and then we must update the additional tickets. We must actually add it. A suitable message must be displayed if there are not enough tickets for the show, and optimize the algorithm so that any looping will stop once the show is located. Okay, so this is a search algorithm. We're searching for one record, because I'm assuming over here that once we find what we're looking for, we can stop looking. So that's basically using a false, almost a flag. So the moment we find the show, we can use that to stop the loop. So we're going to click on here, and we're going to basically loop through the array, but we're not using a for loop, because the moment we find what we're looking for, we're going to stop looking. So I'm going to create a flag here called b flag, type boolean, if I can spell it correctly. There we go. And we have got our search algorithm, which searches for one record. So we assume that we haven't found it. So b flag equals to false. And we need a looping variable, which we're going to do manually. So I'm going to make an r variable over here. And r is going to start off being a 0, because we're not going to have a for loop for it. And we're going to say while r is less than r total shows, because we're going to go until the end of total shows, and while b flag equals false. So while we are not at the end of the array, and while b flag is still false, we must keep looking. The moment one of those things happen, the moment we reach the end, or the moment we find, we can stop the loop. And remember, with ands, we need to put our criteria in brackets. And so we're going to say begin end, and that's my loop. And then inside here, we're going to increase r. So it goes to number 1. Check the value in array shows r, which is 1, and so on. So that's my looping variable that starts at 0, which will become 1, and it goes until the end of our total shows, or until we find what we're looking for. So there's my optimization of my loop. So when we find what we're looking for, it'll stop the loop. Okay, if we don't find, it'll go to the end. So before I do anything, I want to make sure that I've got the correct show. So we are going through the loop R. We're going through all of these values. And when we find a show that matches the one that we selected from the combo box, from this combo box, it's going to, is the value in there going to match the value in the array shows? That's the first thing that we are doing. So that's the first check. If array shows R is equal to S select, then we are at the correct place. We are now at the show that is selected. We found it. Then we can say we found the show. So I'm going to set b flag to true, because we found what we're looking for. So I can already set b flag to true. And now I need to determine if there are seats available. Now I can only do that by checking the time. So if get time of s select equals to an 11 o'clock show. If it equals to an 11 o'clock show, then there are 2 possibilities. Either we have enough tickets or we don't have enough tickets. So if it's an 11 o'clock show, I'm going to ask the question. If array tickets are plus the number of tickets that we want. Remember, if there are 148 tickets and we want to buy 5, we're going to add those 2 and make sure that they're not, if they go above 150, then there's not enough space. But if I bought 1 ticket, then it would be less than or equal to 150, and then it'll be fine. So that's what we're looking for. We not only want the number of tickets for that show that we are looking at, because we found the matching show, so now we can go find the matching tickets, but we're going to take those number of tickets and we're going to take that value and we plus the number of tickets. If that is greater than 150, then there are not enough tickets. So then I'm going to say show message not enough tickets available. So if the time is 11 o'clock and the tickets we want for that show plus the tickets available is greater than 150, there are not enough tickets, then we're going to say not enough tickets. But if it's not, if those 2 added together is not greater, then we have enough. Then we can simply say array tickets are is equal to array tickets R plus these are tickets that we want to purchase. So we can increase it so that there's enough. Okay, I think there's a semicolon over here that we don't need. Okay, so that's great. That's all if the time is 11 o'clock. If the time, so this is for the time, if the time is not 11 o'clock, so we over here, else, over here, we know that the time is not 11 o'clock. Then we're going to do the exact same thing. But in this case, we are doing that only if there are the number of tickets you want plus the tickets for that show is less than 180. Then we don't have enough tickets, or if it is less than 180, then we can take the tickets and add the tickets here. So just to recap, we first find the show that we wanting to find based on what they selected. Once we find the show, we then go, okay, get the time of that show. If it's 11 o'clock, the tickets we want plus the tickets for that show, is it more than 150? Then there's not enough. If there isn't, then we can take those tickets, add it onto the tickets, and make that the new number of tickets sold for that show. Else, if it's not 11 o'clock, that's what this is. Else, if, that's why it's good to indent your code so you can see which if begins or relates to which else. If not 11 o'clock, then there are 180 tickets. Then we can say if the number of tickets we want plus the tickets for that show is greater than 180, then we've got a problem. Else we can just add those tickets on. Does that all make sense? Are we happy with that? It says if there are enough tickets, then a super must be displayed and the corresponding value and the tickets must be updated. So we've done the corresponding value. We just haven't done the message that's displayed if there are enough tickets. So if there are enough tickets, so we not only do this, but we also need to show, hey, tickets booked. If we do book the tickets, then we must show that message. So there's two things that must happen if we do find available tickets. And the same over here. If there's not enough tickets, then we don't. But if there are enough tickets, then not only are we updating it, but we are adding a show message that says the tickets are booked. Then at the end of the loop, if by some chance we find a show that doesn't exist, if B flag is still equal to false at this stage, that means we did not find the show that we are looking for. Then show message, show not found. Because they said we must optimize it, that any looping will stop once the show is assuming it's displayed if there are not enough tickets. So they actually don't even say that we must display a message if we don't find it, but that's what I would do. So I don't even think there will be marks for this part. As long as you indicate if the tickets are booked and you indicate that there are not enough tickets, I think that's fine. So let's just recap quickly. We get the show we want and the number of tickets we want to buy. We search until we find what we're looking for. That's why we're using the while loop. If the show that we're looking for matches what we selected, then we're at the right space. Then we get the time of that show, and if it's 11 o'clock, we check if the tickets we want plus the tickets for that show exceeds 150. If it does, they're not enough. If there are enough, we can add on those tickets and we say, hey, we've got tickets. But if it's not 11 o'clock, that means we, with this if statement over here, if it's not 11 o'clock, then there are 180 tickets available. So if our tickets is more than 180, then that's a problem. Else we can just add the tickets on. I think that is correct. So let's run it. And let's test. We're going to show the daily show. So there we go. So let's take, for example, I'm not going to worry about the sold out shows. Okay. So let's not worry about the sold out shows, but let's book tickets. Let's say I want to book for that show there, the 2nd of the 11th. Okay. So there we go. So the 11th, that's 105. If I book tickets for that show, there should be more than enough. There's 45 seats available because 11 o'clock goes to 150. So if I buy 40 tickets for some reason, tickets are booked. There we go. No problem. Oh, it's updated. I think there's some code at the bottom here. Oh, it runs the click for me. So therefore, it updates it. So you can see it's 145. Okay, great. So I'm going to book for that same show now. I'm going to book 10 tickets, but there are only 5 left, Mr. Long. I know. So it should say not enough tickets available, and it didn't do anything. And if I buy 3 tickets, then it's fine. And now it goes to 48. And if I do it again and buy 2, then it's booked, then it's fine. Let's do another show where it's not at 11 o'clock. Let's go one that's closed. There we go. That one's closed. The 7th of the 12th. 7th, 12th, 6 o'clock. If I book tickets, if I buy 5, then not enough tickets available. But if I buy 2, you look there. If I buy 2 tickets, there is enough. It'll be within 180. Fantastic. It's 180. But if I buy any more now, even if I just buy 1, it's not enough available. So there we go. So that's how it works. There we go. So that's the ticket done. So we used our function and we checked the time, and so there we go. I think that's all done. That's the array question done. And now we've done with the circus, and hopefully you haven't clowned around in this paper and that you've acrobatically jumped around and done everything correctly. Well done. And don't forget to go to our playlist where you can find other exam papers that can help you practice for your exams. So go check it out now. Go to that playlist tab to find other exam paper walkthroughs that can help you prepare for your exams. Click on that subscribe button, support the channel, and share us with your friends so we can help them as well. And check out our computer term channel at Mr. Long Computer Terms. And remember, don't do it the long way, do it the Mr. Long way.